If you miss on the top two guys, still think there's plenty of juice. My 5th ranked overall pickup for the week and my 3rd running back is Jaylen Wright. Had the bye week not been in week 6 for this Dolphins team, he could have pushed Tyron Tracy for the number 2 spot, in my opinion. He paces the Dolphins in rushing on Sunday with 86 yards on his 13 carries, a very healthy 6.6 yards per pop, with Devon Achane exiting the game in the first half due to a concussion. And now that's the issue here, of course, is we don't know how long Achane's going to be out. Likely would have missed week 6, but they do have that bye. It's good timing for the Dolphins here. So it does seem a little unlikely for Achane to miss any more than maybe a game at most for Jaylen Wright. Nonetheless, we don't know with Achane. The injury history is lengthy. You never know if it will take longer for him to get cleared for that week 7 matchup against the Colts. And if it does, the Colts are giving up the most yards on the ground, a phenomenal matchup for backs. Now, granted, Raheem Mostert was still the lead guy here, 57% of the snaps, 47% of the rush attempts, 50% route share, 7% targets. Every single metric for usage, Mostert was leading this team. But Jaylen Wright, not far behind, 37% of the snaps, 34% of rush attempts, and 34% of the routes. And as already said, far more productive with his work as he paced this team in rushing. He's an absurd athlete. This is one of my favorite sleepers entering the season, a 9.82 RAS score, 37th of 1,903 running backs all time. That is a elite 99th percentile type of ranking here for Wright, whose first 5 yards of his 40-yard dash were actually faster than Devon Achane, to show you the type of acceleration this guy has. 26% of his rushes went for 10-plus yards in college. 19 of his runs went for 15-plus 1,000 yards on just 137 carries. The guy looks juicy at the NFL level, too. We see the burst. We know Mike McDaniels can use it to perfection when everybody's healthy. And it does sound like Tua, prayers up for the guy, but it does seem like he is going to be expected back, according to Adam Schefter, by that week 4, after the 4-week deadline of his IR here. So week 8 is when he's expected. So I like what I see from Jaylen Wright. I know they got to buy. No, we can't really gain any value over the course of this, but deeper leagues are certainly, I'm going to try to stash this guy because I think he is the most exciting handcuff that's out there in nearly 90% of leagues right now. Now, speaking of handcuffs that are going into value, most likely is Ty Chandler, but yet again, the bye week strikes because the Vikings will be off this week. We saw Aaron Jones kind of laughing and joking around on the sidelines. Doesn't seem overly serious and overly concerned with that hip injury, but we do have a lengthy injury history here with Aaron Jones. And so Ty Chandler, who we saw in limited spot start duty last year, put up some really impressive total. He's only 28% rostered. This season has not been great. And this weekend, 14 carries, 30 yards on the year, averaging 3.5 yards per pop. Not really showing the same juice we saw last year. But I am very encouraged with how good this Viking team has looked. And so ultimately, should we see Aaron Jones miss a game or two, I do have faith that Ty Chandler could be a very easy running back, top 20 play, a high-end quality running back too for you. Despite the lack of efficiency here, I think this offense can keep cooking. Did want to also mention at running back, Roschon Johnson, 20% roster, getting dropped in a lot of leagues. He's now got 3 touchdowns in his past 2 games. On the year right now, 10.2, 8.6, and 14.5 fantasy points through his 3 games. Very, very solid. Last weekend, 10 carries, 25 yards, and 2 scores going to the guy. DeAndre Swift does look a lot better. And so ultimately, I do think that out of just outplaying the starter, probably not in play here for Roschon Johnson anymore. But what I am seeing is a Bears offense rounding into form, making it a far more valuable handcuff role. And it does seem like Roschon Johnson has certainly surpassed Khalil Herbert as that number 2 to DeAndre Swift. And ultimately, I don't even hate stashing Khalil Herbert here in deeper leagues as he gets chopped everywhere, deservedly so, besides the fact that what if he does get traded to the Cowboys, to one of these teams at the deadline? It's clear the Bears don't really have much of a plan for him, so we shall see. But Roschon Johnson, in the meantime, the clear number 2 guy, the clear goal line guy, and this offense is really starting to take off. So I am definitely intrigued in adding him. The last running back I did want to add here was the starter, Antonio Gibson. Wow, what a start. We see him give up over 60% of the carries to Ramondre, regardless of getting the nod here and the title of starter. Yay, great stuff. Now, he still did a solid job on his work, did Antonio Gibson. 6 carries, 52 yards, hauled in a target for 5. Now, he's up to nearly 6 yards a pop, nearly 3 yards per route run. He's very efficient right now, Antonio Gibson. So did want to shout him out. More of a handcuff situation, but with Drake May coming in here, potentially making a spark in this offense. It's been abysmal. It's horrible, but a great handcuff situation potentially because they are at least feeding the running backs top 5 as a backfield in expected fantasy points. Just the line is so bad. So we shall see what Drake May can do for them here. But ultimately, I want to shout out Gibson as well. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.